Check, check. All right. Willkommen meine Damen und Herren, welcome to Start Building Me, my nightly concept that training is mandatory. You cannot be fit unless you exercise, folks, so we take 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes a night to get the blood pumping through your body, and then you can go out on your own devices and do whatever it is that you're doing on this delightful Friday night in Queensland time at 7 p.m, 8 p.m. in New South Wales. Might be mid-movie, taking a break to do some squats and some push-ups, right? If not, watch the repeat of the stream. Doesn't matter if you're not here live, as long as you get your blood pumping in one shape or form during the day. So I like to take some time out, show people the basic foundations of movements, and folks, I put it to you that life, they say in life only death and taxes are guaranteed. I put it to you that fitness is something that will change your life. It's a guaranteed, unfalsifiable. Jazz in the house, good to see. And by doing these basic exercises with whatever repetitions, with whatever sets you have, over time you'll get that muscle memory down, you'll be able to do the routine more efficiently, and the more efficiently you can do it, the more repetitions you could do, and in the end you'll be like, oh, I actually enjoy doing exercise in its most simple form, and we can move on from there, and from Start Building Me you can go keep on building me and work it out from there. So without further ado, I'll explain what I'm doing whilst I'm going along until I make my videos to describe how everything is done. It's good for me to practice, because for me to actually do the recordings of this, I've just got an introductory splash screen, and I just have to hit record instead of live stream, and I can set it all up this way. So what you're doing is, imagine you're sitting down on a chair and standing back up. Folks, guess what? You've just done a squat. It's that simple, right? You can literally, to get the hang of it, you can sit down on something, stand back up, sit down on something, let all the weight down off onto the seat and stand back up. And that's all you have to do, right? It's actually not a bad way to learn it, because everybody can sit down and stand up. But actually, folks, what you're doing is exercise, whether you like to admit it or not. So you can just do this. And so I'll do this for argument's sake. And the good thing about doing negatives, as they call them, with a squat, where you're starting from the bottom, is you'll lean a little bit forward to put the weight on your feet, and you can practice from doing here the technique that I'm always explaining for people to do. Your toes are digging into the ground. The weight's going to the outside of your feet, folks. That's why you've got arches in your feet. The weight goes to the outside of your feet, so your toes and your heels, and you're standing up. So you can do this on the edge of your bed, you can do this on a box like I have, a milk crate if you're in Australia. I'm not sure if the rest of the world uses milk crates anymore. And do a few of these. And it's a different, to use the cliche term, it's a paradigm shift from the regular squat, where you can basically see if there's any difference in your technique from when you're actually totally deloading your body weight and sitting down, letting the gravity take hold and fully relaxing your muscles, I suppose. There's always going to be a little bit of muscle stability and tension by keeping yourself upright. We're pretty immune to it because we're so used to it. It's very, basic core stability to keep ourselves upright, that sort of spinal erection. So, he said erection. So, and then you can stand back up from there and take a break. I'm going to give it a pretty light load in on my knees. I've just walked the neighbour's dogs, I've just walked my dogs. I felt a little bit nauseous today, actually. It was pretty hot, doing some stuff outside, driving the Beetle around. When you're driving the Beetle around, you don't have any aircon, as you can imagine, so you're feeling it, folks. But as you can see, what I'm doing here in between exercise, shifting my weight from one side of the foot to the other, deloading, shake your legs out, side to side, do the same with the other one. Just like you see, kickboxers and runners doing stuff like that. You're just shaking all your muscles loose. If there's any tension, you're going to get rid of it before. Benny Von Bonbon in the house. How's it going, mate? Happy Friday. I might take tomorrow night off. I think I'll be back on Sunday. Just hanging out with my old man. I want to take him out to dinner. I'll keep you guys posted. So, anyway, I'm going to keep it short and sweet tonight. Up until the 15-minute mark, let's see what we can get. So, I'm going to do sets of 10 and show you what I'm doing and explain it. As always, folks, if you're watching it now live in the flesh, like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching repeat, like and subscribe to the channel. Anybody, the more the merrier we can get in there, the more I can end up pitching this to companies to give us prizes and stuff like that for all the people that are coming. So whatever that will be determined by how many people I can shill this to. If not, we'll go to the Board of Education and say, hey, if you don't want to spend $8,000 per person on Medicare every year for things that you could totally avoid, probably spend half of that if you had people routinely exercise. Shill Gordo. Shill startbuilding.me. Yeah, it's good. It's good to have him up here. It's just me. For better or for worse, it's like that Alice in Chains lyric. When I was a boy, I swore never to be like my old man. Now I realize what the hey, that's exactly who I am. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's not be form sticklers tonight, just do whatever you've got. As you can see, my shorts are riding up. Dinner out is a good idea. I think so as well, man. As you can see on my Freaky Friday, where I'm drinking the old, look, it disappears, that's awesome, into the background. A very fancy Great Northern Brewing Zero. Just drank it because there was nothing else cool in the fridge. Taste that boring, bland taste. It's kind of pointless. I do it when I've got guests, but all you're drinking is heaps of multi-carbohydrates. It's like something that I'll never touch in a million years. Effects on this channel are wild. Oh yeah, I know, it's getting a little bit weird. I think I'll be able to fine-tune it over time, but my disappearing hat sometimes. I'm not really sure why it's a hat. I think it's because it's closer to the light or something like that. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I can do 30 or 40, I'll be happy with that for the time being. Shake your legs out in between. I've been looking at a Subaru Impreza today at the wrecker, $2,000 for the whole car, and I just want the engine and the ECU and the harness to put into the Beetle, but it's $2,000 for an engine with 100,000 K, which is like roughly half of its life, if not a third of its life. It's just had the timing belt done and the water pump. To build equivalent horsepower out of a Type 1 VW Beetle engine would be about 16 grand. So it's, a factor of 8 cheaper, and for 150 horsepower and a 730 kilo car is obviously some insane power to weight ratio. And it's not linear, I guess. Like a lighter car with a decent amount of horsepower is far more effective than a car with like even 3 tons of horsepower that's twice the weight. So it'll be pretty cool. Right. Keep my eyes on the prize. 2, 3, 4. I feel that slingshot in your butt. I feel that great at the moment, probably from all the walking. Maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Feel that blood pumping through the legs. I was watching the documentary today. It'd be one of those things that makes my ex cry. It's called What is a Woman? And it's just about a guy that's going and interviewing all these ultra progressive people about, gender dysphoria and all this stuff, and he's not debating that, gender dysphoria is real or not. He just sort of lets these people stumble over their own concepts, and they get angry and leave all the interviews because he's just sort of asking some pretty straightforward questions that, it's like the classic you hear them say always is, oh, that's an interesting question, or that's a good question. It just basically means that they have no idea what their answer's going to be, and they're going to try and fumble up on something. But it's kind of concerning, because if you've read anything from critical theory from a lot of the Frankfurter school of philosophy, is just that basically cultural Marxism, that subversion where it's just trying to create ranks in the division in the ranks, and just get people arguing with each other. The more you can divide people on different cultural issues, the more you can rule over them, because you're just going to get so much division. Everybody's going to be fighting over isms, and ironically, I think it was Karl Marx that said it, people are always going to be focused on isms when they should be just focusing on the main problem, which is the haves and the have-nots, right? So if you find yourself losing your mind over these cultural isms, just realize you're being subverted by the elite who are trying to get you fighting over pointless stuff. If you're a scientist like me, Benny von Bonbon, even Jazz, you're going to just believe what science tells you, and it's been pretty reliable in the last 100 years, pretty fruitful since the Christian Dark Ages went up, and let us actually do our jobs. So I'm pretty biased. My bias towards science is absolute. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, it's funny. I wasn't thinking there was going to be much coming out of this exercise session, but I feel like I've got a really good form coming out of this. So if I do another 10, I'll be happy with this. Might just be me thinking that they're much more effective since it's cutting off the circulation into my tight shorts. Excuse me. And wash it down with a sip of this Great Northern Brewing Company Full Taste Zero. Wayne's World. Yeah, I think it's pathetic when people sell out for corporate sponsors. Brewed here, fresh in cans, I think. Cans? 0.0 alcohol vol. Nothing is more disappointing than that, folks. You may as well drink water instead of spend $10 for a 6-pack of water, or $12. And it's funny, when you're not drinking, at least for me, and I'm pretty sure it would be the same for both of you actually, out of all my friends, it's funny that it's you too. You don't miss it. You just like I'll drink a soft drink or drink a fruit juice or something like that. It's just like, who cares? Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a taste of a new generation, that's right, because it's cheaper and people are broke. I showed Dad that Dave Chappelle Saturday Night monologue today where he was talking about why Trump won. And he's like, all you people in New York think it's over, but I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. And he's like, when Trump went up to that first interview against Hillary Clinton, and he said he's never seen it before, that a white billionaire guy standing on the stage yelling at the top of his voice, "This whole system is rigged." And Obama and Clinton on the other side were saying, "Oh, it's not rigged, what are you talking about?" And the guy interviewing the mediator guy says, "Well, Mr. Trump, if you're saying the whole system is rigged, can you provide any evidence for that claim?" And Trump said, "I know because I use it." Dave Chappelle's reaction was, "God damn!" It was very plausible that what he was saying was the truth, So, yeah, mate, he's my favourite as well. And people are like, oh, he shouldn't be saying this stuff that we find outrageous. And you're like, you do realize what comedians do. They're always the zeitgeist of pushing the envelope. Look at, Pryor talking about smoking crack, and like all the swearing and stuff was very taboo for his time. Bill Hicks, like all those guys are pushing the envelope. That's what makes them the best comedians at the time. To the point where I really only think it was Jerry Seinfeld who wasn't like that to make it big. Charlie Murphy for sure. Anyway, let's do some push-ups. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. Ben about to start his Friday, us wrapping our Friday up. And where's my mouse cursor? Holy dooly. What is going on? There we go. Have a quick sip of my fantastic ale. I was able to get Diamond Dale out of the picture tonight. He was trying to mosey in his way in, but it's far too hot in here. I forgot to switch the aircon on before walking my dogs and walking Freckles. And Dad and I hung out with Faye, the next door neighbour, and shot the proverbial with her because she went over to Germany at the same time that Dad did in '89. I think Dad went '88. No, I think '89. And then we went the year after. Anyway, do a few push-ups. Can warm up, show that they're real push-ups, folks. Don't believe the hype. People saying they're not real push-ups. Look, guess what? I'm pushing my body weight up off the ground. If you're in face down in the mud and you're going to push yourself up, there's a good chance you're going to push yourself off your knees because it's easier. And that's a good technique there. You can go back into a cat stretch and do something like that. If you can't do that many push-ups, you can sort of slow down your repetition rate like that, do a bit of a dynamic movement in there. It's all good, folks. All you're doing is pushing the blood through your upper body. That's what a push-up is, right? So you can do strict push-ups as well, of course, whatever you want to do, if you can do them. Spread your fingers, obviously. Give yourself a better base. Hands, thumbs lining up with the bottom of your chest. Squeeze your butt as well. So when you're about to go down like this, if you're squeezing your butt, you'll be able to get some good tension in your body and you'll be able to do some more. Folks, we're performing push-ups to whatever capacity you have, hoping to improve on the number that you got yesterday. That's all. If you could do half of one yesterday, hopefully you can do one today. Or if you've done half of one yesterday, I hope you can do a half again until you can get a full push-out out. You might just want to do these bad boys, which I used to do when my shoulder was busted and have to rehabilitate it. And before I could even do that, I just used to walk my body a little bit over my shoulders like that and put a bit of weight on them, folks. Like I was saying, there've been times where I've been in bed where I couldn't even sit up, where I had to sit up by putting more and more pillows under my back until I got to 45 degrees before I could use my hands to push myself upright. So it's small and steady gains that we're trying to get here at Start Building Me, and whatever you've got is personal. And that's why I like my setup, my fancy box. Everybody wishes they had a fancy box in their life. And we'll leave it at that innuendo. But you don't need anything to do any of these movements. You can do them in the privacy of your room, behind the house, behind a shed. Do it solo, you know what I mean? If you're worried about judgment, but like I always say, you shouldn't worry about judgment because, like Mayhem says in that Metal, A Headbanger's Journey, Jazz, who are they? F them. F you. Who cares? Just do what you've got and take a break. Take a load off and breathe. Take a minute, take two. Doesn't matter, folks. You're competing against yourself and your performance yesterday. And like I said, this is a positive environment to get you to be like, okay, damn it, Start Building Me is online. I'm going to come and do whatever you've got. I can't see what you're doing. And you could be just here, like I say. If you're a paraplegic in a wheelchair, a quadriplegic, you can just be here, suck in air, blow out air. I put it to you, just being in this environment listening to some positive feedback, somebody that's trying to take away the burden of the modern life, which is just something that is just so toxic. You switch on any media, social media as well, and everybody's at each other's throats, everybody's arguing, people trolling others, trying to wind them up. I've seen another world, folks. I've seen a world beforehand, and I miss that world, and I'm sure the three people here that I'm mostly referring to who are in the chat do as well. We grew up in a time where none of this toxicity existed because we simply weren't subjected to it. So now that you're subjected to it, it really rubs off on you, and it's not pleasant, you know what I mean? And it's like, as a day trader, I subject myself to it every day because, you get some good tips of different tokens to trade or different shares to trade from these people. These people usually live miserable existences, and it's not often that you come across people who have some positive stuff to say. The Mayhem guy, exactly. I just saw they're having a 30-year reunion tour. Somebody posted it. I think it was Stefan Roth, one of my mates in Germany, was saying he's a metal drummer, who was saying that they're having some 30-year reunion tour of Mayhem. Obviously not with, what was the guy name that shot himself in the head with a shotgun and said like, sorry about the mess or something like that. Anyway, it's not funny, folks. I'll keep it positive. It's kind of a twisted thing to say. Pre-internet OGs for sure, and man, it's like I used to think, like, why people always talk about the world being more positive in the 90s, and I have a feeling it was just because of that, really. Like, you just weren't getting subjected to the social media. Like, people were still going to rotten.com and all that sort of stuff and seeing some messed up stuff, but it was only the twisted people that were subjecting themselves to it. If you went to message boards, bulletin boards, looking up different data, like me going to the jungle IRC chat rooms to learn how to do trackers and then in turn Cubase, it was positive, People might be talking about Raven and stuff like that because they were mostly dudes in the UK. But yeah, it was positive. It's a real shame to see people at each other's necks and people getting wound up about everything. And that's half of the reason this documentary, What is a Woman, is cool, is because these people are just brainwashed into a concept that if you can't answer questions about something that you've devoted your career and life to, that's sort of concerning, right? It's like something that you should be able to feel comfortable to talk about and not lose your temper and tell people this interview's over and walk out, even if they are sort of trying to push the questions on you to make you have to think about what it is that your profession is about. You can always be able to, agree or disagree instead of just getting angry and leaving an interview. It's hard to make yourself look competent when you're just, losing it and leaving. I think his name literally was Dead. That's right, it was his stage name. I made the amulets out of his skull. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the singer Vas Vikinen, the guy that burned down all those Norwegian churches because he said, they were pagan sites originally, and the Christians burned down their sites. So he's like, it's just poetic justice that they're getting their churches burned down and that they made them all out of wood. It's a wild story. Assange's book about the future of the internet aged pretty well, I thought. I like his metaphor at the end about the Sydney Opera House. Rats in the Sydney Opera House. Well, I'll download that book and check it out. I haven't heard of it. I like Snowden's book. And I thought it was funny, the narrative change with Snowden, how people were saying, oh my God, he's doing it for the people, and now people are like, oh, he's a traitor and should face some music. It just shows you how powerful a narrative is, where people can be turned against dudes like Assange and Snowden over time, despite thinking that they were, really good at the beginning, and they're like, oh, now Assange's and Snowden are Russian assets, you know? It's like they've totally fallen for the spin that the CIA and the American Justice Department have pushed back. It's like to think that Julian Assange and Edward Snowden are somehow bad when they're trying to expose murder that the government creates. And it's like me getting my guns taken away from me, right, by the government, and people like, oh, you don't need guns anyway. And it's like, why should the state have a monopoly over firearms when they're the people going over to Iraq and killing civilians and killing civilians in Afghanistan, which a lot of the SAS are being exposed for now, the Australian SAS. It's like, I'm not that comfortable. I've had a home invasion before where the police came an hour afterwards. It's like, if those people were going to hurt me or kill me, I could have defended myself. But if you do defend yourself in Australia when somebody breaks in and you kill that person, it's manslaughter, right? So you're screwed anyway. It's like, oh, you should know how to effectively disarm that person as to not hurt them, else you get, somebody's breaking into your house and you'll get a manslaughter charge. It's pretty wild. So check out Assange's book. Awesome. That's what I'm saying, folks. That's what Start Building Me is about. Tell me different books. Tell me different medias. I'm still watching Lord of the Rings. Obviously, I'm not going to subject my dad to that Hobbit shit. My dad's a pure non-fiction junkie, which is where I got it from. And like I said, we're watching documentaries about the downfall of society. It's quite positive for us in the grand scheme of things. So it's a pretty wild one to see, just, and just the whole thing, like, of all these athletes that are competing against the females and blowing them out of the water, and then all these people who are saying from the sports authority, oh, it doesn't matter, like there's no evidence that the trans athletes are significantly better than the female athletes, and you just see them like breaking all these records, winning by half a pool length and stuff like that. It's like, anyway, like I said, I'll spare you my opinion, folks. I couldn't care less. I just want you to exercise and free yourself of the insanity that I expose myself on the web. So without further ado, I'm going to do 30 push-ups and get out of here. I'll do them in sets of 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get the blood pumping. Just from walking, folks, I feel my legs get stronger, keeps my blood pumping, feels good. But yeah, the Edward Snowden book's really good as well. I strongly recommend people read these books from these dudes who are legitimate heroes that, like Jesus of Nazareth, gave up their life to show us that the government and the deep state are listening to our phone calls, are storing and reading our emails, are sending trolling bots through all of our communication messages to pick up on search terms that may be taken out of context and used against you, where people will raid your house and drag you out of your house in the sleep and put you in detention centers under acts like the what is it called in the States, the Patriot Act, and there's nothing you can do. They can hold you without any charges against you. It's one of those things that you don't care about until it happens to you, folks. And as we start going towards this era of people having like the literal ministry of thought, like in 1984, you don't want it happening to you. You don't want it happening to your kids. As Zach De La Roca said from Rage Against the Machine, if we don't take action now, we'll settle for nothing later. That can just be telling people to read Assange's book, or telling people to read Snowden's book and saying it's probably not the case that they're Russian assets if they're talking just because they're talking about war crimes committed by the US. And we're complicit, folks. It's like the Germans saying, oh, we knew it was happening, but there was nothing we can do. Really? Is that really how it's going to go down? Or is there something we can do by being a little bit more forthright with our actions and talking about it and trying to get discourse and stopping it from happening to us? I hope we're not going to be in that position where we'll be like, oh shit, we really should have done something before it was too late. And it was funny, you speak to the Jewish Holocaust survivors, and they said the biggest mistake that they made was listening to people who said you're overreacting, right? And that's exactly what you're seeing here now. Oh, you're overreacting about gender issues, you're overreacting about all this stuff, you know? And we should be overreacting about government abuse of power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yes, free Assange from British prison. It's disgraceful how they've been treating him. And the CIA and the FBI were wiretapping him in the Ecuadorian, it was a Peruvian, I can't remember, embassy there in London. It's terrifying to me. There's somebody who's specific in encryption and distributed servers and privacy, folks. Privacy is a human right, right? Don't ever let anybody tell you the Goebbelsism, which is if you've got nothing to hide, then you've got nothing to fear. That's a load of shit. Everybody in the world has something to hide. Do you want somebody just to read through your SMSs or somebody read through your emails and possibly get some message from some affair or some fling you had 10 years ago, 15 years ago? What does it matter? You should have privacy for your own stuff. Anything can be taken out of context and used against you, and that's the whole point. A friend of mine went through politics, Michael Toke, somebody who Jared knows as well here, and they just slandered him through the media and settled with him for 6 figures after they ruined his political career. There's obviously nothing you can do after you've been ridiculed through the media. It doesn't matter what the truth is, folks, it's what people read. As soon as they've read it in the paper, they believe it to be true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, I think I've earned this delicious, tasty, Great Northern Brewing Company Full Taste Zero Ale. I drink 50 of them a day. No, I don't, because it's just pointless carbohydrates. Anyway, folks, yeah, right on. I try and keep my rants to a minimum. But, like I said, stay positive and stay free, folks. Breathe that free air as long as we can. And, yeah, everybody deserves to have privacy. Something that we used to have growing up and that you don't have if you're a Generation Z anymore. And what scares me is that you haven't had it and you don't know what it's like, so you don't know what you're missing out on. But trust me, it was glorious. Love you, folks. See you tomorrow. No, not see you tomorrow. I'll see you on Sunday back again to recap the week and get you into the new one. Dale's scratching the door. He wants in. The fact that border guards can take your phone, search the contents and entry in the country is enough for me not to trust them, undoubtedly. Yeah, have a great weekend, folks. Love you guys to death. Always makes my day. See you later.